So there's a trickle-down effect of when the top starts being late, the rest of the economy breaks. In the UK, last year, 14,000 businesses actually died because of working capital problems. Basically, the agents we build, they are focused on one thing, and that's just to get you paid faster. We are building a brain, and we train a brain solely focused on getting you paid.
Hi, I'm Tom Guinness, and welcome to the Raising Your podcast. Here we go behind the scenes with the people building the future of European tech.
Joining the show today is Guiv Ardalan, the CEO and co-founder of Spinal, a fintech startup that's building AI agents to help companies get paid faster. If you're a CFO, finance lead, or someone who deals with invoices,
You don't want to miss this.
who are you? What do you do? And why is it important?
So I'm Guiv, CEO and co-founder of Spinal. And what we do is we are the AI agents of accounts receivables. So why it's important is we do something really kind of simple, but really difficult to do. And what we do is we help businesses collect money.
Right, and where does the name Spinal come from?
So Spinal, it doesn't have that great of a story, but the real story is that I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like starting a business was always what I wanted to do. So what I would do is I would look for names, save them in my phone, and be like, oh, this is a name that sticks. I had a list of maybe 20. Spinal was one of them. And then when I was co-founding with my co-founder, Spinal was kind of the placeholder. And then that just kind of stuck. And then we had this whole backstory of how it's like the backbone of things. But reality is we liked it. Domain was available. We liked the way it was written. And we stuck with it.
It works well. And speaking about backstories, why don't you tell us about your journey as an entrepreneur so far? When did it start? And when was the aha moment or spark of inspiration that kind of led you to start Spinal?
So I think, so I'll give you like the macro and then the micro view is like, as a person, I was always going to start a business. My brother started a business. It was definitely something I was going to do. And when I would visualize myself, in the future or something, like being an entrepreneur was what I was going to do. So I think that was just a matter of time. Now, regarding Spinal specifically, well, a year ago, my co-founder and I decided to kind of quit our jobs and take this journey together. And we decided that we just needed time, him and I, going through problems, working together, and like really just being focused on each other for a little bit. And we did that for a couple months. And then we said, okay, now that we've got an idea, which we pivoted away from, which we can talk about that in a little bit, let's go raise some money, because we decided that this was going to be we're going to go the VC route. And we were thinking of going the bootstrapping, but we had this whole math that actually we need to be in the VC route in the tech world. And then we raised some money, and here we are today.
So you and your co-founder spent an entire year looking for problems. What was the biggest problem you saw, and are you trying to solve it today? Yeah,
so the big problem with accounts receivable, I break it down into kind of different steps of kind of what's going on today, what's happened in the past, and why now? Like what's happening now that you can solve it. So let's talk about kind of the problem at hand. Is like, why do businesses even care about accounts receivable? First, defining accounts receivable is the IOUs. So you've provided a service, and now then people pay you back. The problem is that businesses need working capital, so money, to pay their expenses, their payroll, etc. And they can't do that without actually capital at hand. And the problem is they do two things when they don't have that money. First thing is they don't pay their suppliers on time because they're waiting for money from their revenue.
Right.
And what they do is they wait until they have the money, and then they pay either their people or their suppliers late. And then those suppliers pay their suppliers late, and so on. So there's a trickle-down effect of when the top starts being late, the rest of the economy breaks. And that's shown actually in the UK that last year 14,000 businesses actually died or stopped because of working capital problems.
14,000?
14,000, so about 38 a day, yeah.
38 a day?
Just because of working capital issues. So that's giving you like the macro view of why like not being paid on time hurts. Now let's talk about like micro. Like why would a company care specifically? Is because what they're doing now is they have two ways. The one way they solve it is basically they go and borrow money at a cost to go and spend it. Now, like I'm no genius, but getting money or spending money to spend money doesn't really make any sense to me. So that's why businesses really care about working capital. Now the question is, okay, now that you've got working capital, that's been a problem. How long has this been a problem for? And this has been a problem for many, many years. And it really was first recorded in two different places, really at around the same time. The first was at around the Silk Road, specifically the Southern Silk Road, which is between India, Pakistan, and Persia. It's that last bit,
Right.
to Constantinople. And where it was recorded is merchants would buy something in one city and then pay for it in the next city to the partner. And what it would do is, in between was the accounts receivable, but because there was one road, you kind of knew that you were going to get the money. The second part is a mathematician who was also a priest in Florence, in the merchants, the Florentine merchant time, called Pacioli. And what he did is he created the dual entry, which is basically the credit and debit. So he created the ability to say, okay, you owe me, and there's a whole ledger around how much each customer owes. So they were able to measure that.
Right.
And that's a problem that they tried to fix back then, but it's still a problem today. Now, last bit, how big is the problem actually? What are we talking about? We'll put some numbers. In the UK, there is $500 billion in receivables. That means that is money that needs to be transferred to the other people. 500 billion is the nominal GDP of Denmark. So let's just put that number there.
Wow.
Now, out of that 500, 60% of that, so 60% of invoices are late. So that means if there is an invoice has this thing called a net term or payment term, which is the amount of days that you need to pay that invoice. Let's say it's net 30, which is 30 days to pay. 60% of those invoices will be past 30 days. So that's kind of the market we're in, is to say, okay, the more late they are, the worse it is. Now the aha moment, which is where the real value comes in, is 40% of the 60%, so 40% of 300 billion, so that's 120 billion, is because of admin and process and system issues. In short, it means you have control over it being late. It's like you messed up and you're the reason as a business that it is late. That's 40% of the time.
Right. So it's not like someone is part of a failed business and they're not paying you because they've gone bust, for example. It's more just admin.
Exactly. And that's the game we're in. And what we do is we make sure that the system and the process is correct to be able to get that payment faster. And then what we do is we help chase, right? So we go and once it's been late, you've done everything you needed to do. But there's a lot of admin work around chasing. And now the final bit is why now? So this is old as time. We know how big the problem is. What's different now that it was 5 years ago? So automation's been around for a little bit. But now with this whole beauty of AI, what you're really doing is that you're building a brain that reasons. And basically the agents we build, they are focused on one thing, and that's just to get you paid faster. So think about it that we are building a brain and we train a brain solely focused on getting you paid in all languages at all times, everywhere in the world. And that's kind of what the real value of what we build. And that's the difference between 5 years ago to now. You're able to build those things and they're difficult to build, but if you build them right, they're pretty strong.
So it's a big problem today, but how big is it going to be, let's say in 2040?
Yeah.
Is it still going to be a problem then?
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about the receivables and how big that number is. That grows between 1% to 2% a year, depending on the country. So this is just only going up. Why? Is because with the markets, businesses want to hold money because they can now do cash management and treasury management around how much money they can make. It's like a revenue way. The way you hold cash, you can make money on that. So that's always going to go up. The question is the trust of being able to pay and the accuracy of paying on time. And that's the game we're in.
Are you redefining, an existing market, or are you creating something completely new?
Yeah, I think with the whole AI agent world, you're really elevating what it was before, right? And so I think if you're saying a new defining category, yes, because this thing didn't exist, but we're solving a problem that's as old as time. So the solution, I think, is a new category. The problem is old as time.
And so on the solution, if you could explain it to us in very basic terms, what does the product do exactly, and how does it help customers?
Yeah. So the first thing happens when you get into our dashboard is it's cut into two. It tells you what do you need to do today. So our agent tells you and prioritizes what are the things you need to do today to make sure we get paid faster. And the second bit is everything we did while you were sleeping. And we tell you these are the things we did. These are the reasons we did it. And then we give you the data behind it. So whether you got paid or somebody hasn't paid yet, we give you kind of the measurement of how well you're doing while you were asleep. And our goal is that every day, so there is a job called the accounts receivable specialist, is kind of a role, and their job is to chase money. This is what they do. And we want to really elevate these people. And one big problem we hear is that they don't know where to start, who to talk to, what to do. And that's the first thing we do. And we do that by using that brain that basically helps that person to say, these are the best next steps. This is how I suggest you do it. And this is what we did while you were asleep. So that's the product.
You hear about a 10x engineer, for example, writes a script, goes to sleep, wakes up, lots is done. Is that similar here? It's kind of, Spinal is working overtime at night while, these accounts receivable folks are, sleeping.
Yeah.
And then
pretty
they're
much
just kind of kickstarting their day saying, hey, go chase this.
Yeah, because there's some context that the human and especially finance have that the agent will never have. Now you can feed that context, but you need to feed it, and that's the work you need to do. And yeah, we are in the game of saying that just like engineers are being kind of 10x'd, we think finance teams can be 10x'd as well.
So finance teams can be 10x'd.
Absolutely.
So how did you build your MVP? And where's the product in comparison today? Like, how basic was the MVP?
Yeah, well, it's hard to make it basic because it's so, right now, it's so eye-opening when you build something that like speaks back to you, has opinions and reasons why it does such a thing. But yes, of course, our product, we have different versions of our product, like Sandbox, different environments. And one thing we always laugh between the team is there's one version that's like our first version. We've never touched it. And a lot of us like to go back and see where the difference is. And yeah, it's night and day. And I think that's how I measure how well we're doing. We measure like metrics, but also it's like the feeling of what you get when you get into our product. A big part of AI is like trust and feeling and trying out. And if we get that right, I think that will elevate us as well.
And when we think about the existing tech stack within accounts receivable, what does that look like today without Spinal?
Yeah.
And what parts of the tech stack will you be replacing or working alongside?
Yeah, so I see everything. And I see everything from people do it on their notebook to like spreadsheets to their internal tool that they've used and so on. So what I've gathered is that everybody has their way of doing. It's kind of like an Excel sheet. Finance people like their Excel sheet. If somebody else messes with your Excel sheet, you feel a certain way about it.
Yeah, as a former investment banker, I feel strongly about that as well.
Exactly. So accounts receivable is similar, where everybody had their own kind of version, and that has its pros and its cons. So the real answer is there is no real stack today. What you have is automation machines. But automation machines don't fix the problem. They just do. They took away hours, but they didn't change the outcome. If that makes sense.
So when we think about the rest of the folks around accounts receivable, let's say invoice factoring companies, do they still have a place in the stack going forward? Do they still have a role, or will Spinal be the one-stop shop for anyone trying to find their invoices?
No, I actually think they're gonna grow, and why is that? Is because invoice factoring is, it's almost like a loan, right? It's almost you do due diligence on the person, and you realize, am I willing to give this person up the money up front? We are a great source of KYB because we know how long this person is actually going to pay you, and a lot of businesses pay either quarterly because that's what their financials are like, and I think we help them, because we give them confidence around when they're going to get paid back. So I do think it's a beautiful product, and I still think it's going to grow. We just think we sit adjacent. We help them. And I think we want to be the person that whoever wants to go and get a loan on their invoice can, but shouldn't be forced to.
Okay, so who's using your product? Who is your ICP? and why?
So our users are finance teams. And we focus on um, two ICPs, and those are tech companies that now are a little bit more mature, and that their numbers actually matter, and that's usually in the series kind of B and C area. And a big pull that we're seeing is from manufacturers because working capital is extremely important for them, because their tickets, or what I call the ACVs, are extremely high. So they need to be able to cash that money in as fast as possible for them to be able to manufacture more. These are really the two ICPs that have the most pull. But our product in reality is really sector agnostic, because everybody has this problem, from the small business all the way to the kind of conglomerates. I think, actually, funny enough, I saw I saw at Staples, which is a famous American kind of retail company.
It's like stationery, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. And I think they had a job for an accounts receivable specialist, because what I do is I go and I check. And on the job title, it was somebody needs to handle $250 million worth of accounts receivables. That was the like job they had. And we're talking about Staples, which is like meant to be retail, but they also sell on the wholesale B2B manufacturing side. So that shows you how big actually one company can have, how many receivables they can have, and how much it like affects them.
Right. And so how would a customer use Spinal?
Yeah. So all we need is context, and there's two places where context sits with accounts receivable. Number one is your email. Finance and accounts receivable people are the only finance people who speak to customers. Every other finance people kind of just stick to themselves in the team. Receivables actually speak, and that's where we need to be able to know the context of what is the conversation. And then second is the ERP, which is where the actual data kind of sit and reconciled. If we know what is the conversation you have and what has been reconciled, we know what's missing, and that's the game we play. And that's why we talked about a little bit before around our moat, and like how we how we are different is we bring that up. What does that mean? Is like we show you and connect those two in 15 to 20 minutes. And that's where you know where you sit on accounts receivable, how many conversations you've had that are still outstanding that you forgot about, and how much money is still outstanding.
Right. And so how much impact would using Spinal have on these customers?
So there's really two metrics you look at. One is the amount of days it takes for you to get paid. So that's our measurement, is we want to go down to 0. That's our goal, is we want to help you get paid immediately and on that day. So that's the first, and that's called DSO. Today, we can bring down around 30 to 40% with our agents. And second is something that we hear a lot is response rate, which is understanding why it's late. If you know why something is late, one, you feel a lot more comfortable. You know what decisions to make, and you're not in the without knowing what to do. And that's the second kind of metric we check. So we want to decrease the amount of days for you to get paid, and we want to increase the amount of response rate that you have of why you haven't been paid.
Right. And if we translate that into kind of dollars, or dollars and cents, what kind of financial impact could this have on a business?
It's hard to say, because it depends on each person's ACV. The question at hand is like, how much will your cash flow increase? And that actually is correlated to the amount of days that you do. So it's the same amount of days. It's like 30 to 40%, because that's how much cash flow you get faster. So you could expect 30 to 40 more percent of working capital in a certain month.
Right. And so if we shift our focus to the people building the product, there's this mythos of the solo founder, but where you have a team building this, who's building the product, and where are they based?
Yeah, so we are London based, and we are a team of full engineers. We are 4, and we were actually thinking, my co-founder and I, to really add more people. But actually, in the last couple of months, we've been reeling it back for multiple reasons. One is we're going at a speed, and we don't want it to stop. And we're really happy with where we're going. And second is we've built a little culture that we really love, and we're being very specific on who we want to bring back or who we want to bring in. So we are hiring still, but we've become a lot more picky on who we bring and do they fit us. And we are a company of full engineers. So for now, that's all that matters to us right now.
Right. And as a company of full engineers, what does it take to build an excellent AI product today?
This is my take, and this is again, every day is changing. So this is what I think today. I don't know what it will be like when I think about it in a couple months. What matters about building a good AI product is that you need to work. You need to focus on trust and focus on value. And the way that you get trust is to provide value. And I think if you do things that are really fun and really maybe seem great but don't bring any value, then it's not a great AI product. You're just another kind of software that you used to build. And then second is try different tools, try different things. You can see how we feel that we've been completely 10x'd because we try different products. And when it's not good, we try the next. So there's a bit of curiosity around how you build an AI product to try different things.
Aware you're very picky with hiring people and bringing them into your team. Talent density is so important today. How do you attract the A players to come work with you?
Yeah. So I'll break it down into two. One is like what kind of people we look for, and then how do we test it and make sure that they want to come work with us. So we check two things. One is evidence and energy. So evidence is showing evidence of a grit, passion, going deep into something. We like people that no matter how way you show that evidence, we love it. Actually, the more weird, the better.
The more weird, the better.
The more weird, the better, because it shows you that you're willing to stay in your lane and really double down. And I think that's a great trait to have. And then second, which we actually put a lot of weight on, is energy. And people say like, oh, you hire based on vibe. We've actually kind of tried to measure it and tried to make it tangible, which is the amount of energy you get outside of the call. Is like after we've talked for 30 minutes, do I want to do more work? Do I want to talk to you more? Did I learn anything? Or was this just a draining moment, where you're just kind of explaining yourself, and that's not who I want to be with every day. Why? Is because the energy that you bring in the office, it's contagious. And energy does not mean gregarious and loud. You can give off a lot of energy by saying a lot little words, and we see that a lot. So those are the two things we look at. Now, how do we hire and how do we get these people to work with us? First of all, they're rare. Second is we can't win the financial game. So we cannot win all these crazy salaries that these companies are going with. And actually, that's a filter for us. Because if you are looking for, the next best paycheck, then we're the wrong place. I think we pay very fairly and well, but we can't compete. Where we can compete is, and I think we do really well, is the ownership, growth, and kind of joy you'll have at coming to work. And that's why a big part of the interview is you coming into the office, being with us for a full day. And usually what ends up happening is people want to come after that day. Most people that we've given an offer that have not come went for like the Googles and the big companies. No, I think one has gone to another startup.
Right, so the big paychecks.
Yeah, to the big paychecks.
Yeah, without having to say it.
Yeah.
So, bringing people into the team is one thing, but, bringing investors in, having them buy into your vision. I know that you're backed by some incredible investors like, Venture Friends, 14 Peaks, Enzo Ventures. How did you get them to buy into your vision?
I think at this stage, right, the early stage of investing, this is what they tell me, but I think it has to do with the people and the person you're investing. And I think my co-founder and I have a great duality to us. And I think we're a great pair. We challenge each other. We're also very different, but we're also very kind of the same. And I think our investors looked at us and said, okay, this is a good duo. They've got a good background and they've got a good dynamic to them. And I think that's why they invested in us.
if you had to distill your entire fundraising experience to date into one golden rule, what would it be?
So I think what so I think the question is like, how do you get investors to invest in you? And I think there's a bit of a playbook, and the way you could break it down is if they're investing in, or if they're buying a human, right? They're buying the person, then you have to understand human dynamics. And there's two human dynamics, I think, what really play. One is like a Charlie Munger phrase that I'll paraphrase is like, if you know someone's motivation, you know where they're going to go. So you have to understand what their motivations are. So in reality, you're their golden ticket. Like if you think about it, they are looking for their golden ticket to either be promoted, or be partner, or make a lot of money, whatever it may be. You are that. So if you understand that you are their golden ticket, you would act a certain way. And what does that mean is that you wouldn't be available. You would be a little bit more guarded in like who you talk to. So the human dynamic is realize that you're their golden ticket. So act like it. And what does that mean is that you need to be careful with who you talk to, what information you gave, because you're in high demand. So act it. And I think once you understand that dynamic and you have evidence that you are a good person, like a smart and with a good idea and story, then I think that's all that's needed.
You know, forgetting PR headlines, what was the most painful part about fundraising? Or was it smooth sailing?
No, it's definitely not smooth sailing. So I think the most painful part was you could tell when you were talking to somebody for information rather than for like actual caring about doing an investment. And it quickly goes into another, it almost becomes a checklist call because I think they're going through like the questions that they need to do. And that was painful because they ask questions that don't really make sense in the moment. And then what ends up happening is because they don't really like the call, VCs love to talk to each other. So then there's this like, conversation that happens in the back. So I think that was really difficult actually, is like having a conversation with someone that doesn't really want to invest. Yeah. And then the conversation just goes a little weird. And you have certain egos as well, right? Like there's a certain type of people, like the stereotypes are true. Oh, yeah. Like I've lived those stereotypes. And you just have to somehow keep it together and move forward.
So I think it's also around, them not being respectful of your time, not being prepared. Is that the main thing that you were?
I think so. That and not speaking to the right person, maybe, because I think on the VC world, depending on the size, some people's roles or everyday job is to collect data because they might want to make a decision somewhere else, and you're not actually talking to the decision maker. So it's less about respectful of my time. It's more around what is the purpose of this? And there's also sometimes like these missed hopes they give. So yeah.
Right. Well, you ended up with some excellent investors. So congratulations to you and the team. So that's amazing. So where you did your fundraise across Europe and the US, how did you find that? And how did you find the differences between the two? And where did you get the most traction?
Yeah. So I had a certain strategy of who I wanted to raise. I wanted to raise from European funds first. That was kind of my goal, and we can go into why. But I did talk to a lot of kind of American VCs. And the real difference, I would say, is appetite of risk, which is kind of the common theme, is I think on the American side, they follow a certain kind of high-level thesis. And they want to be in that high-level thesis. I think on the European side, they're a lot more specific. They're a lot more structured. And I liked that, actually. At the beginning, I think it is important to be actually a bit more structured. Because as founders, we are pretty wide net already. I think what really matters is, do you have partners that help you refine your thinking and bring you to a certain spot? The next raise, I want to go on the American side because they are really the go-to-market kings. They know what it means to really sell at scale, and they know what's good and what's bad. And I think that's really important, is getting a partner that helps you scale your sales motion where the incentives are correct. And sales is just an incentive game. And I think the Americans are great, especially the VCs. The American VCs understand incentives really well. And that's something I can't wait to learn and build.
Right. And when you think about European, I guess, AI champions like the Lovables, the 11 Labs, do you think their go-to-market motion was driven by, let's say, the VCs that invested in them, or do you think it's European made?
So 11 Labs is Anderson Horowitz, right? And so I would say very American on their sales motion. But they're like an incredible company, right? So like their sales is very unique from what I've gathered. Okay, I'm no expert. But Anderson Horowitz is a big partner of theirs, from what I gather, and they're helping them out a lot. And I think it's an amazing company, amazing people. But if you look, these companies we're talking about, they're now global. I mean, you see them talking with different governments, different interesting people around the world. They're not really European. I mean, sorry, they're not only focused on European or in Europe. Sorry, they're focused around the world. They just started here.
Yeah.
But I think there is, and this is something my co-founder and I really believe is, the best company, in my take, is a mixture of Europe and America together. You want to have the skepticism of Europe with the optimism of the US. And if you can blend that correctly, you'll be a great company.
Right. And when you think about skepticism and optimism, I put my investor hat on, valuations in the US versus Europe, they tend to be quite different. How did you, treat, looking at a valuation range for your round?
Yeah.
Or did you go for like a safe?
Yeah, so we did an ASA, which is a safe here in the UK. Now, talking about valuations, I am in the camp that if you over-optimize on valuation, you are in the wrong game. Like that's not the point. The point is having something that makes sense, that every party is a win-win. And what you're really trying to do is like help your customers solve their problem. And if you're trying to optimize 1% or 2% on the valuation, I think you're spending your incentive and your motivations are wrong, because you're trying to get the next dollar, payout, whatever it may be. And I'm in this for I'm not in it for the money. I also tell people who want to be founders, my take is if you're in it for the money, there's easier ways to make money. Just don't be a founder. Yeah. Do it for the love and the beauty of building something.
Yeah.
And whether you're up or down a valuation doesn't really matter.
And when it comes to valuation caps in safes, did you do one, or did you leave it open to a discount for the next round?
No, we did a cap.
Why was that? Some people just do uncapped safes.
Simplicity, because that's what we both understood. We were both happy with. There was no. I didn't question it more. To me, it made sense. I understood why they were doing it. It didn't bother me either. The valuation was correct. So I said, whatever the structure may be, what do I really gain?
Right. So they proposed the valuation.
Yeah.
Do you think investors will lead with you need to have a cap on your safe?
I think it depends on where you are in the stage. I mean, they're happy with it, right?
Yeah, if you're happy with it, and they're happy with it, it's all good. But when founders are deciding whether they want to put a cap on or not, there's a big question mark whether someone wants to put a valuation today or not.
Yeah. True. Yeah, especially like pre-seed.
Yeah.
You kind of think you kind of don't want to do that. Well, it doesn't really matter. I would say, this is my suggestion, is why does it bother you where there is a cap? And why do you want not to have a cap? Like maybe say it out loud to yourself and share that with your investor, and let's see what their response is and what their reasons are for. Yeah. Maybe you can kind of gauge how much they like you, or how much they really believe in you. And also depends on like how oversubscribed you are. Yeah. So we had a little bit more than we needed. But that was not a point of that would decide one versus the other for me. It was really who they were. Did I like them?
Yeah.
that's what matters at this point.
So the cap doesn't matter. It's more to do with, you being collaborative with the investors who are going to be backing you over the long term. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, at least on our end, on the pre-seed side, because every round is, this is how my investor brought it out to me, and I agree with him, is every round is you de-risk your business. And pre-seed is the highest risk. And these investors are putting the money on the highest risk asset out there. So just realize that, right? Realize that. And as rounds go up, you've de-risked yourself, which means you have a different leverage. And that, I think, goes with the dynamic of what you do with the deal. At the end of the day, I think with the deal is, I think the most important is understand it. Like that, really understanding the minutia of like the deal, what does it mean? And if anybody needs help with that, I'm happy to help it because I spent hours on that just to really grab what I'm agreeing to here.
Yeah.
And I think then I think once you really understand the things that bother you will pop up, and there'll probably be one or two of them, which is normal. And then you just communicate with your VC, like, these are the reasons I don't like it because of X, Y, and Z. And I don't think they would be too difficult with it.
These days, there's a lot of talk about, seed strapping or bootstrapping a business with AI. Why fundraise at all?
Yeah, that was a big question we asked ourselves. We were very much in we could bootstrap this. That's kind of the first route. And I still think that whoever does bootstrap, I really commend them. At the end of the day, we are going to be a sales-led business. That's the world we're going into. That means that if you're in the sales-led business, that means you have to put money in to get money out. If you're in the kind of product-like growth, I would argue you still need to do that too, but a little less than on the sales side. And we knew that from day one. So if we knew that we were going to be a sales-led business, that means we needed to raise capital to be able to inject into our go-to-market. And we didn't have that kind of money. So we knew we needed to go and get it.
Yeah.
And that means that we danced with the devil, which means, okay, now we're going to go there. And that's what we're doing.
Looking at where Spinal is going, where do you see the business going in the next 18 to 24 months?
I just think continue growing, continue focusing on what we do. I want to make sure that I focus on what is the problem we solve. Because there's so many things that come about that, my co-founder and I look at, and it gets exciting. We know we can do it, that are adjacent to these kind of things. But I think in the 18, 24 months is what I'm really excited about is building like a sales team in motion. I have like these ideas that I'm thinking about that I want to try, that I'm really excited about. So hopefully I build that.
What is one bold prediction you have about the future that everyone else is sleeping on?
I don't know if everyone's sleeping on. I think there will be more engineers in the future. There will be less.
Really?
That's my take. And why is that? Is because, first of all, I think the definition of engineer will change a little bit, but problems are getting engineered more. So for example, if accounts receivable was a finance issue, we are the ones that are making it an engineering issue. So, and other businesses or kind of products you see out there, they're engineering that problem. So that means that there will be more engineers that will be able to focus on a problem that maybe wasn't computer science or software, but it was another piece. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you're basically saying that you might not, the role of an analyst before might have been like, on Excel or something. Now they are using agents to solve the work they need to do, which makes them an engineer really. Because they're tinkering and building now, rather than maybe building formulas and stuff.
Right, so it's going one level deeper.
Yeah.
So what is the single best piece of advice you could give to someone else starting out building their business from your experience to date?
Trust your gut more than you think. I think our gut is like our internal like foundational model. And I know it's kind of geeky to say, but really what it does is I believe that your gut takes a lot of information and kind of stores it and kind of makes sense of it. And I keep reminding myself that my gut means something. And when my gut is telling me something, follow it. Even though maybe everyone else is telling you something else, I think if you continue with your gut, it's going to work out fine.
Why follow your gut when let's say the data is saying one thing,
Yeah.
but your gut is screaming,
Yeah.
don't do that.
Because I think the gut Your gut might have data that data doesn't have,
Right.
or the other way around. Though. So that's where kind of you have to realize is that maybe that data you're looking at has more data than your gut, and I think that's the play that you got to realize where you sit. But also, I believe that you will do much better when you believe what you're doing is the right thing, and whether it's the wrong, fine, you'll change course, but you'll be much more happier within that.
Right. So when you're not building agents, who is Guiv Ardalan?
I mean, a lot of things. So one is, so what do I do really when I'm not working, I think is the question. And I'm a big fantasy reader. So I'm reading Mistborn Will of Ascension, which is a fantasy book that I love. Second, I'm a gamer. So I've gamed my whole life.
What's the game?
Right now I'm playing Madden. I'm big in my Madden game. And that leads into, I'm a huge NFL Patriots fan.
Same here.
That's
For
kind
the
of like,
record.
that's kind of, the draft was last week. Like I stayed up all night and watched it. It's kind of what I do in my pastime. And then lastly, and I would say most importantly, is I hang out with my friends. I have great friends. My friends, I've had the same 20 friends since I'm 11. We meet every month for a dinner. I'm in their lives, they're in my lives. And a lot of them are founders as well. So we help each other out, and they're a big reason of. They're all extremely successful as well in their own right, and it's me trying to keep up with them.
Yeah.
But they're a big part. They're a big part of my life.
And in a parallel universe where you aren't a founder,
Yeah.
what would you be?
Yeah, so many things. I think I want to be them in my life in this lifetime. But so one, I want to write a book. I want to write a fantasy story. That's on my to-do list. And
Is it futuristic or let's say in the past?
I'm more of a high fantasy guy, so I like more high fantasy. Sci-fi, I'm not against, but
Okay.
I think my heart goes to like high fantasy. And to encapsulate that, I think an artist that like builds things, creates, paints, writes, acts, everything. I think like doing art is what makes you human. I don't know. There's something beautiful about it. And then lastly, I can't even believe I say that now because as a 14-year-old, I don't think I would ever say it. But I think I want to be a professor. I think there's a lot of. I think teachers today are pretty poor, and I think there needs to be a new injection of like new professors, new way of doing things, and I think I'd be a great teacher to teach things.
Right. So let's say, you become a teacher, but I mean, even today, what kind of books would you recommend to others, to help them, learn about something?
Yeah, plenty. So I think it really depends on what you're into, but I'll break it down a little bit. I think reading historical books are great because it's a story, but it gives you fact and understanding of the past, which gives you the future. So the book I always recommend, but this is very accounts receivable, but I think everyone should do it. There's two. There's one is Silk Road. So we talked a little bit about the Silk Road, and by Peter Franconia, and he talks about really the history of the Silk Road, merchants, how they did business, the cultures behind them, why did they choose to share different products, and how did it change the world there. I think there's a lot of learning there. It's a history, there's a story, there's love, there's a lot of things there. Then a little more nerdy is Dual Entry, which we talked about, Pacchioli.
The godfather of accounting.
The godfather of accounting. And why is just because you realize that a religious man went and took a step further from what his daily life was, and he really focused on a really cool concept that had nothing to do with kind of religion. And I think that's a really cool story. So that's kind of that. I think on fantasy, I think that everybody should read Brandon Sanderson. He's kind of like the hype guy now, but he is the best fantasy writer, I think, since Tolkien.
Tolkien
is my take.
I presume your films that you recommend to others would also be fantasy ones, or
Yeah.
is it something else?
Yeah, I think yes, I like fantasy films. I think so I think the Lord of the Rings is kind of the best rendition of a book. I've heard Project Hail Mary is really great. I haven't seen it yet.
Project Hail Mary.
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard that's really good. That's a sci-fi. I've heard that's really good. We talked about Brandon Sanderson. So he just sold his rights to Apple. and I'm really excited about that because he's going to do shows and movies of his whole Cosmere, and that's kind of what I can't wait for.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Guiv, it's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I have a quick favor to ask you. Raising Europe is a community-supported channel. Please hit the subscribe button. It's one quick, free, easy way for you to support the channel and help us make our production better each and every week. Thank you so much for joining us on our journey so far. Without you, none of this would be possible.